But you could change it to a minimum maintenance, we talked about that, and gravel. Ray, if you go to the mic and explain that. That's your alternative if you don't want to spend the 47, which is the lowest qualified bid.
I do agree with returning to gravel. I don't think that's going to satisfy not only Mr. Swanson, but all the horse people that live up and down Kendall Road. It's going to be quite a mess. I can give you some more information to answer some of your questions, Trustee Burson. First of all, I've been here 18 years on the highway district, and prior to that, they had chip sealed it. I think it was the first time, I believe. It lasted until about 5 to 7 years ago. It lasted quite a long time. And I started in 07 when the village was incorporated. They had done it prior to that, and we were instructed at that time, I was just new on the crew, to take the pressure off the plow so we didn't scrape into it and damage it. And it lasted very well. This last several years, this last 5 to 7, I said, I've kept after my guys to either cold patch or to fill gravel when holes developed in that, and it worked out fairly well at first, and then as the road got worse and worse, it diminished its effectiveness. But besides Mr. Swanson, now Mr. Swanson, he's okay with the road being just chip sealed. He didn't really want to see it paved because he felt it was too expensive for the village, plus it was just going to turn it into a speedway through that short stretch. But he's also concerned about his neighbors. If he were to say, oh yeah, close the road off, they're all going to be hostile to him. That's what he was concerned about. He didn't want to have all that backlash from his close neighbors all around him. So that's why he requested, could you possibly chip seal it? The $47,000 bid was put forth by the company who gave the highest bid of starting from scratch at $114,000. And with this $47,000 bid, they were the only company out of the three that even suggested giving us some prep work, smoothing out the bad spots. I'm sorry, and then putting the chip seal down using 2 courses of the chip seal to make it as sturdy and as long-lasting as it possibly could. So if it's done right and it's done with some diligence, it would turn out to last a longer time than what many of us might anticipate.
But a longer time, let's be honest. If it got 8 years before it had to be done again, we'd be good.
I would say at least 8 years, because like I said, it was done, I was in 07, so it was probably done in 04, 05, I'm not sure exactly. But then it wasn't until 15 that it's really started going down.
But it can go bad very quickly, because we had an accident on it this spring where nobody came forward to confess that somebody pulled out with their minimum tillage.
It was a
farmer that was farming one of the row crops there. Dropped.
The farm implement fell down and it just gouged. I mean, that would have done it. It damaged the asphalt as well as the chip seal.
I know, but if that happens again, your 8 to 10 years is going to be right out the window.
Yeah, so it would have to be, that would have to be repaired if it happened to the newly chip sealed road, just like it would be if it ripped up the asphalt. So I'm just trying to give you as much information as I can so you can make an informed decision.
Thank you, Ray. But I just want to say one thing. I do remember when Mr. Swanson did come in and addressed our committee, and there's an equine hospital on Kendall Road, and from what he said is the trailers, the pickup trucks that are pulling the trailers with the horses, they tend to go down Connors Road. Well, that's what Mr. Swanson said. Hold on, yeah. So that's something nobody has really mentioned, and I think that's an important point.
I did forget one item.
Go ahead, Ray.
Those horse trailers do use that.
Mm-hmm.
The reason they use Connors instead of McDonald's is because with those horse trailers, trying to make a right turn or a left turn gets a little hairy because a lot of them are fifth wheel trailers. And they got to swing out, and when they come off of Connors, it's pretty much perpendicular to 47, whereas McDonald's is kind of on that curve, and it makes it kind of dangerous. Basically, why they don't go all the way down.
Okay. Did you have your hand up, Frank?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just have a question.
in general, who uses the road? Is it mostly local residents? Like I said, like you just mentioned, people moving their horses, farmers, that type of stuff, or is it used for anything else?
Well, usually, the people that are in a big hurry, usually will shoot down to McDonald's and fly down there to get to the east. But usually it's local folks that are buzzing through. They know the routes, the back roads and stuff, they take those roads, and there are horse people that use it. According to Mr. Swanson, I'm not out there enough to monitor it all the time, but I do talk to different people, and they do use it. I know the guys over at Plato, and I've talked to them in the past. And it's usually residents in their cars and pickups, as well as the horse people with their fifth wheel trailers.
Or dumping their garbage and tires.
Oh, that happens there too.
It's like, so much.
Yeah.
Nick, you had a question or comment?
Yes, thank you. How long is this section of Connors Road?
Approximately a half mile.
A half a mile, and it's roughly 50 grand to do this. And then what are we looking at for the mill and repave for a mile? I know it's not an option for this, yeah.
Depending on the road width, of course, but between 250 to 300,000 per mile.
So this is like 20%, more or less, like per mile?
Probably about 40% of
40%.
pavement.
And then this road was redone in '07. You guys just started
Prior
right
to
around there?
Yeah, I started here in '07 when the village was incorporated. I started the highway district. But it was done prior to me even being here, because I remember the first time I plowed it.
Ray, you need to come up and talk to
sorry.
the mic.
I think
It's
that-
recorded.
But I mean, you guys ended up getting 13 years out of the road.
We did get good time out of it, but I don't disagree that turning it back to gravel would be the cheapest way to go.
I don't disagree with that at all, but what I am pointing out is this is a very good example for our village to use of how a chip seal performs.
Right.
Yeah,
We got 13 years out of it at $100,000 a mile.
Right, and usually, I mean, there are people that like to use the chip seal over gravel. It only gives you a small depth, a shallow depth, but we use it also on asphalt roads that are still in fairly decent shape to cheapen the amount of money we have to spend for repaving. So yeah, we've done that too.
Okay, thank you, Ray.
Good.
Here, go ahead, Jen.
Relative to chip seal, generally, I think much of Brundage Road is also chip seal, right?
No, that's,
There's some,
the north end is paved. We have a Durapatching process, it's like chip sealing, and we repair it with that. That's what you saw there.
But the rest of that road is a rustic road and it's gravel.
so relative to Connors Road, I very much appreciate Mr. Swanson's desire to keep the road that he lives on open end to end. I'm not aware of any evidence that the supposed horse people on Kendall Road use Connors. So first of all, let's be clear about who that is. There is one equine hospital on Kendall, right? There is Polo Club, which is currently not really operating. There is there's the airstrip, which breeds horses but doesn't really move them. So this isn't an area full of horse farms on Kendall, right? There is a single area. It's the horse hospital and the property next to it that would qualify as horse farm property. I live in this area. I drive on this road on Kendall virtually every day, and I have never ever seen a horse trailer turn onto Connors Road. And I can't imagine if I owned horses and I was pulling them in a horse trailer that I would ever pull them on that freaking moonscape of a road. I don't believe that it happens. I think this is a fantasy that there is horse trailer traffic, going on Connors Road. And then, sadly, we wish that there was more, farming in this area, but we're seeing less and less row crop farming as well. And what row crop farming there is, I don't see that going on Connors either. It goes up to Plato and out to 47, or it goes down to McDonald. And to Ray's point about the turn at McDonald, what you actually see is people go down Kendall to McDonald, they go over to Dibman, and then back down to maybe continuing south that way instead of going over to 47. So I mean, I live there, and I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I don't have surveillance on the road or anything like that, but I don't think that there is any appreciable agricultural traffic, horse traffic, residential traffic, or any other traffic other than people trying to cut the corner at McDonald's and maybe wishing that they hadn't once they got on the road. So, you know, if there's consensus that we can't close the road, which I really think is the best thing, but if we can't close that, then I'm all in favor of taking it back to gravel and not attempting to pave it further.
All right, are we ready to take a vote?
I think the recommendation is the 47,000 and change for chip seal is what's before you. So a yes would be to confirm that vote, and no would be more in line with what Trustee Burson is saying.
Okay, roll call.
Trustee Benetti?
No.
Trustee Butler?
No.
Trustee Burson?
No.
Trustee Hopkins-Burger?
I'm going to say no, but only to get more information, because I think it sounds to me like we don't really have enough information. There might be something that might change my mind, but for now, it's a no.
Okay.
Motion carries.
Does the board, just as a consensus, not a vote, want me to find out what it would cost to return it to minimum maintenance gravel dirt road?
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought so. Okay.
Okay.
Ray, I'll work with you on that. And Scott.
Thank you, and we'll notify the contractor those final quotations.
Thank you, Scott. All right, we'll move on to action item B. Motion to approve resolution 25-31, authorizing execution of a developer donation agreement. And Mark?
That is currently Exhibit C in the annexation agreement that you've been discussing. It is memorializing the deal with the school district Geneva 304. They would get, if there was impact fee of $6,125,000. $6,100,025. So that is adjusted by inflation to cap at 3% annually, so that they get the same kind of impact fee, $6,000, it's in the agreement, $6,378 today, but that will go up each year to a maximum of 3%, so they get their impact fee of $6.1 million over the 23 years adjusted for inflation. The other part of the agreement says, and the village will make payment if there's a TIF district out of TIF funds to pay for under the TIF Act. If any student, K through 12, shows up at their door, they show proof that a student showed up, they get the Department of Education dollar that they've registered at Springfield for grade school versus high school cost, and they're reimbursed out of TIF funds. And so the village will make that happen. The village, if there is a TIF district, is the keeper of the increment of the TIF funds. That's why it's the state that in that fashion. So if there's no other questions.
I have a quick.
Go ahead, Teresa.
Sorry, and I'm going to make it quick. I was just going to make this comment earlier that I know that we're doing a lot lately, and we've had a lot of stuff going on, but we had this on the agenda last week without the agreement, so it's appearing for the first time as an action item. So I would have liked it to be a discussion item the first time around, and approve it next meeting. But I mean, it's fine, we'll leave it where it is this time. But I know we're talking a lot about the TIF, and I was thinking, not for this one, we'll deal with this one today, but we're probably going to see a lot of these agreements and a lot of discussion about the TIF. If someone between now and like the next time we're either approving an agreement or whatever could give us a little bit of an idea of a calculation of sort of how this looks. Because we're talking a lot about, money, this money could potentially come out of the TIF, this money is coming out of the TIF, this is kind of just so we kind of have an idea. I know you, Mark and I have talked a little bit about it, but it is a little confusing, and I'd like to kind of know what we anticipate.
And I can have SB Friedman, give us a report for the 16th, so you kind of understand where it stands in the preliminary research.
That would be great.
Eligible for a TIP, and how any reimbursements that we might.
The funding we anticipate coming in, when it comes in, like kind of, you know, even just like a guesstimate on.
No, I think SB Friedman's very good at that, and they can provide that. I mean, one of the trustees can announce they did a spreadsheet that is on target a little bit for that, but I would caution that we need some specificity on what units are built in year
Sure.
1 through 5, because if some of the townhomes would be a lower price than the single-family homes, and we'll want to take that into account. I can have SB Friedman run that for you, and you've got the different letters that came from the library district.
Yeah,
that
that's
you
kind
gave
of what
us.
I was referring to.
They
because
all have a wish.
we may get more of these, and that
Yes.
way we can kind of start keeping track of what might be coming out, because this one in particular, and I'm guessing we may see more of this, is prioritizing these payments above village reimbursements. So we also kind of want to know who's in front of us and what we're anticipating our reimbursements are, or what other things will be going in. So
Well,
just we have an idea.
Their reimbursement is based on at time of permit, they get that
Correct.
dollar amount,
Yeah.
just like the village does for the, at time of building permit.
Sure.
So we're not second to the school district in that regard. We're second in
In just the
the
student,
TIF.
the student portion.
They would be number one in the, of all the joint review board members, they'd be number one. The only tax the village has is for the police pension fund.
Okay.
And that's very small, de minimis, as part of the overall tax bill. So, yes, the school district would be in front of our pension fund on any call on the $10, but that's what that meant.
Yeah, it is, I'm not sure that it's just on the bottom, it says something about that, but we can, like I said, we're gonna probably get more of these, so just so we can
Yep.
kind of start paying attention to it. But that needs the impact, thank you.
Well, we need a motion. Do I have a motion? No. Okay, moved by Janet. Second by Therese, and then Janet, now discussion.
We had a bunch of offline discussion about this agreement because frankly, we hadn't seen an agreement like this and we were a little confused. And we were trying to make sure that we really understood it. So several of us discussed it one-on-one to make sure that we understood what was going on. And I'm not uncomfortable with it, but I would like to point out that if there is a TIF, and it seems like there needs to be a TIF in order to finance the sewer and water district. That's almost a requirement. It's not a wish list item. Over time, we're talking about, in comparison to anything that the village has seen before, a vast amount of money. We're talking about a 9-figure amount of money. Not a 7 or 8-figure amount of money, but a 9-figure amount of money. And so I have relatively few concerns about whether, we can satisfy the library district or the park district or whatever it is with their, with their budgetary concerns. What I am concerned about is the way in which it pays out, because, Chauvin is a slow play, right, when they build, and we've seen this around town. We saw it in Norton Lakes Casino over at Elmer Station. They built the entire first phase of Ponce of Stony Creek in less than half the time it took through Norton Lakes. And that wasn't Chauvin, because it was 1 hour over there. So, not Chauvin, and Ponce of Stony Creek is my point. So it doesn't mean Chauvin is bad or anything. It just means that the way that they do it takes time. And so the money that we're looking for in terms of impact fees, tips, all that stuff is going to play out over time. And in order for us to deal with the upfront expenses of the sewer and water district, firstly, we need money now, not later. So this is going to have to be bonded.
That's right.
right? And so,
That's correct.
you have to figure out, and that's the agreement is going to help us schedule
Yes.
what these monies might look like over the 23 years.
And the projected build-out of Shodine of townhomes versus single-family, et cetera.
And, you know, in such a way that we can take this to the markets and bond it.
Yes, because you're right, there, as you did on your Excel spreadsheet, the money at the front end of increment is much smaller than it is at the back end, but our cost that somebody's asking for help on is in the front end when there's not that much increment, because there's not that many homes built yet.
If somebody wants 8 figures right now, to make sewer and water happen.
It's gonna have to be a bond pledging the revenue of the increment.
And we might not even see $1 million in TIP money in the third year.
That's right.
Well, it depends on whose expense it is. If the developer has very limited expenses that can be reimbursed through the TIF, and if the developer is building infrastructure, for instance, for the water reclamation district, servicing only the TIF, that's a developer expense. The village is not going to be spending that money, so the village wouldn't have to go out to bond to get that money to be able to pay for the improvement that would then be reimbursed by the TIF.
But there's all 3 people wanting $15 million to give them out.
Well, that would be a different story it's very likely that Shodine would have to go to financing to perform these improvements, whether they're their own private improvements for vertical construction or for the infrastructure improvements. They're going to have to secure financing or spend money that they have cash on hand. Their ability to then pay off that private financing, however they get it, would likely then be tied to the reimbursement that they have the right to under the redevelopment agreement or under the PD that they perform. So, yes, it could be a bit of a slow burn as far as EAV increasing, but it's unlikely, it's less possible in a project like this than in a project where there's significant public infrastructure being purchased or being constructed that then the village will then own. That the village is going to have to seek outside financing. A lot of developments might include public streets or sewer increases, lift stations, things like that, that the village will then end up owning, or that might be adjacent to the TIF, but will service not just the development, but other surrounding areas. Those would be village expenses. In this case, the majority of the infrastructure improvements are going to be developer expenses. So this agreement, because there is a village code provision indicating land cash donation process for the school district, the school district was very adamant that they wanted it in place and agreed to prior to the village considering the annexation. Other types of agreements regarding how particular portions of TIF revenue or EAV might be directed might be more addressed at the JRB stage, the Joint Review Board stage, if a TIF is created.
And we have communicated that to every taxing body, including Blackberry Township and the Fire Elmer District, all the ones that you've seen letters recently from. They know at the GRB, if there is a TIF, that's when they'll be addressed. The school district, though, anywhere in America, before you do an annexation, you get some kind of impact fee agreement with the school district impacted by 900 units of housing, because there's more than 900 children going to be generated over its life. So that's why they went first, and the others, we've stated, if there is a TIF, we'll address your needs at the JRB, because you're not going to have impact until like really year 5 and 7, where it's going to be a problem of any kind, if it is, for any of those other districts.
And as to the second part of the agreement regarding the per student payment, I mean, that only comes into play if the TIF is created. As to the availability of funds out of a TIF to pay off different districts, that's that second stage, or that second portion of what SB Friedman would be doing. that we talked about at the last meeting and the one before. And that's a bit down the road. I mean, first they have to determine whether or not the property itself is feasible for creation of TIF. Then, upon review of what the village's budget for any improvements that it would require, or any other eligible expenses to be recovered, and the developer's budget combined with their redevelopment plan, SB Freeman will have to determine whether a TIF is absolutely required, whether but for the TIF the project would not be viable. That's the point where the village will then see the developer's budget, will have its own budget, and have an understanding, general understanding of what the increment is going to be over those 23 years. And then the village can better determine, based on that study, or those numbers, if there are other requests from other districts, whether or not it would be feasible, or how it would be feasible.
Those other districts, Grace, to your next question, they will probably not be before you until the end of the year or the first of next year, because we've got to finish the eligibility of creating the TIF. You have to decide to create the TIF, which would likely be in January, February of next year, and then there'd be the JRB negotiation for the impacts for the various taxing bodies, if it comes. So we've made it very clear there's nothing to negotiate with the other districts at the annexation time. You will be addressed at such time at the JRB level. If we get past A, it can be legal to create it, and then B, the next step of you actually taking a vote to create it. Yeah. JRB is the Joint Review Board, and that is every taxing body, whether the Police Pension Fund, the Blackberry Township, the Blackberry Highway Department, the Elburn Fire District, the Geneva Park District, the Geneva Library District, and of course the Geneva School District. Who am I leaving out? The County Forest Preserve and the County of Kane, the community colleges of King County, that's Elgin Community College. I don't know if we have a mosquito, I don't think we have a mosquito abatement district in this area, we do not. We do not have the sanatorium for TB, doesn't exist in this area like it did in places in Cook County. So I've dealt with all those entities before, but they will come at a time when we actually are eligible to create the TIF, and you take the action to create it, and that will probably be likely in January, because there's a rollback provision that you wouldn't want to start it in 25 because you'd go back to January, and you'd lose that year of infrastructure being built before you get your first house built to get the assessor to assess it a year after that. So it's like, I think, year 3 and 4 before an increment is actually starting to be generated. So it's at least year 7 or 8 before that 35 to 50 home build occurs to get any true increments to fund all these things. And that, let's face it, the other districts are not going to have a large impact to them with 35 to 50 homes in the first 3 to 4 years. So it's give and take, and there's